Welcome to another soothing journey into the past. Tonight, we're stepping into the shadowy, superstitious world of medieval Europe, where being accused of witchcraft could turn your life into a fiery nightmare, literally. Imagine living in a time where a bad harvest, a sick cow, or even a neighbor's grudge could get you branded as a witch. We'll explore why people feared witches so much, how they hunted them down, and what happened if you were caught in this terrifying web of suspicion. If you're ready to trade your modern comforts for a glimpse into this eerie era, settle in, dim the lights, and maybe turn on a fan for that soft hum. Oh, and if you enjoy this journey, give the video a like, subscribe, and let me know in the comments where you're tuning in from. Now, let's tiptoe into the past. It's the late 14th century, and you're a peasant in a small village in England, or maybe France, where things are about to get very witchy. Life is already a struggle. Your crops fail if it rains too much, your cow gets sick if the grass isn't good, and your straw bed is basically a flea hotel. But there's something even scarier than a bad harvest lurking in the shadows: witches. At least, that's what everyone believes. The fear of witches doesn't just come out of nowhere. It's been brewing for centuries, like a bad stew that nobody asked for. Back in the early Middle Ages, around the 8th century, magic wasn't such a big deal. People believed in folk healers, wise women who brewed herbal remedies or cast charms to help with childbirth. But as the church grew more powerful, it started to see these practices as a threat. Why? Because anything that wasn't blessed by a priest was suspicious, and the church liked to be in charge of all things spiritual. By the 13th century, the church declares that witchcraft is heresy, a crime against God himself. Suddenly, those wise women aren't so wise anymore. They're devil worshippers in disguise. The fear really takes off in the 15th century, when life in Europe gets extra miserable. The Black Death wipes out a third of the population. Wars, like the 100 Years' War, leave villages in ruins, and the Little Ice Age makes winters so cold your teeth chatter just thinking about it. When crops fail, babies die, or storms ruin your harvest, you need someone to blame. The church has the perfect answer: witches. They say witches make pacts with the devil, cast spells to ruin crops, and even fly on broomsticks, though that broomstick thing won't be popular until later. Books like the Malleus Maleficarum, published in 1486, become medieval bestsellers, teaching everyone how to spot a witch. Got a wart on your nose? Suspicious. Your cow died after you argued with a neighbor? Clearly, you cursed it. And if you're a woman, especially an old single one, good luck. You're basically a walking witch stereotype. The church isn't just a bystander in this witch hysteria. It's the ringmaster. By the 15th century, the Catholic Church is obsessed with rooting out heresy, and witches become their favorite target. They teach that witches are the devil's minions, holding secret meetings called Sabbaths, where they dance with demons, eat babies, and plot to destroy Christianity. It sounds like a bad horror movie, but people believe every word. Priests preach fiery sermons about the dangers of witchcraft, warning that even your sweet old grandma might be brewing potions in her hut. But it's not just the church fueling the fear. Folklore plays a big role too. Medieval peasants grow up hearing stories about witches who can turn into cats, curse your crops, or make you fall in love with a donkey. These tales are passed down around the hearth, whispered by grandmas to scare kids into behaving. Don't wander into the woods at night, they say, or a witch will snatch you up. Add to that the church's teachings, and you've got a perfect storm of paranoia. If your neighbor's cow stops giving milk, it's not because of bad grass. It's because you hexed it. If a storm ruins the harvest, it's not bad weather. It's your fault for dancing with the devil. Women are especially vulnerable. The Malleus Maleficarum, which means hammer of witches, says women are more likely to be witches because they're weaker and more lustful, making them easy prey for the devil. If you're a healer using herbs to cure a fever, that's not medicine, it's magic. If you're a widow living alone, you're probably up to no good. And if you're outspoken, well, that's just asking for trouble. The church and folklore together create a world where anyone can be a witch, and everyone's looking over their shoulder, wondering who'll be next. Let's say your neighbor Agnes decides she doesn't like you. Maybe you forgot to return her best pot, or she's jealous because your bread always rises better. She goes to the local priest and says, "I saw her dancing in the woods at midnight, talking to a black cat." That's all it takes. Suddenly, you're on trial for witchcraft. And medieval trials aren't exactly fair. There's no innocent until proven guilty here. If someone accuses you, you're probably a witch, unless you can prove otherwise, and good luck with that. The first step is often a trial by ordeal. One popular method is the water test. They tie you up and throw you into a river. If you float, you're a witch, because witches are so evil, even the water rejects them. If you sink, you're innocent, but, well, you're also probably dead. Either way, it's a lose-lose situation. Another test is looking for a witch's mark. A mole or scar where the devil supposedly kissed you. Got a freckle? Too bad. That's evidence. They might even prick you with a needle to see if you bleed, because witches don't bleed, obviously. Some witch hunters use trick needles that don't pierce the skin, so you're doomed no matter what. If you survive the tests, you're off to a trial in front of the local lord or priest. Witnesses, usually people with a grudge, line up to testify. "She looked at my cow funny, and now it only gives sour milk," one says. "I saw her flying on a broomstick," says another. Even though broomsticks won't be a witch thing until much later. Torture is also on the table. Literally. They might stretch you on a rack, crush your thumbs, or tie you in painful positions until you confess. And confessing doesn't mean you're off the hook. It just means they've got enough to execute you. The whole process is less about justice and more about fear. Fear of the devil, fear of witches, and fear of looking weak if they let you go. Once you're labeled a witch, your fate is sealed. The church and local lords can't let a servant of the devil walk free. It would make them look weak, and medieval society isn't big on second chances. The most common punishment is execution, and it's not quick or painless. If you're lucky, you might get hanged. Fast, relatively clean, and over in a snap. But more often, you're burned at the stake. They tie you to a wooden pole, pile straw and wood around you, and set it all ablaze. It's supposed to purify your soul and warn others not to mess with the devil. Burning isn't just about killing you. It's a public spectacle. The whole village turns out to watch, like it's the medieval version of a reality TV finale. Kids munch on apples, neighbors gossip about your evil deeds, and the priest prays loudly to make sure everyone knows God approves. If you're really unlucky, they might torture you first. Think hot irons or public flogging to cleanse. You before the fire does its work. In some places, like Germany, they even build special witch towers to hold dozens of accused witches before burning them in batches. Efficiency, medieval style. Your family isn't safe either. Being related to a witch makes them suspect, and they might lose their land, their home, or even their lives. The local lord often takes your property as payment for the trial. Witch hunts are a great way to make a profit, and the fear doesn't stop with you. The village becomes a hotbed of suspicion, with everyone looking for the next witch to blame for their troubles. Witch hunts weren't just random. They often exploded into full-blown panics, especially in certain places. Let's travel to Würzburg, Germany, in the 1620s, where one of the deadliest witch hunts in history takes place. Over 900 people are executed in just a few years, including children as young as 10. The local bishop, a real witch-hunting enthusiast, accuses entire families, claiming they're all in league with the devil. It gets so bad that even the town's wealthiest citizens aren't safe. Turns out, accusing rich people is a great way to get their land. Then there's the infamous Salem witch trials in 1692 in colonial Massachusetts. It starts when a group of girls begins having fits, screaming, shaking, and claiming they're possessed. They point fingers at local women, like Tituba, a Caribbean slave, and Sarah Good, a poor beggar. Soon, the whole town is in a frenzy, accusing neighbors left and right. By the end, 20 people are executed, mostly by hanging, and over 150 are imprisoned. The trials only stop when the governor's wife gets accused. And he finally decides, okay, maybe we've gone too far. These witch hunts show how fear can spiral out of control. In Salem, the girls might have been faking it, or maybe they were just bored teenagers looking for attention. In Würzburg, the bishop's obsession with witches fueled a killing spree. Either way, the victims were usually innocent, often women, the poor, or anyone who didn't fit in. Their stories are a grim reminder of what happens when superstition takes over. After you're gone, the village doesn't just move on. The fear of witches lingers like a bad smell, and every misfortune gets blamed on someone new. Your family might be shunned, forced to leave town, or even accused themselves. The local lord gets richer by taking your land. Turns out, witch hunts are a great way to make a profit. And the church doubles down, preaching more sermons about the devil to keep everyone in line. But the witch hunts don't last forever. By the late 17th century, people start questioning the madness. Scientists like Galileo show that the world isn't full of magic. It's full of natural laws. Courts demand better evidence, and the Enlightenment brings ideas of reason and fairness. In 1735, England passes the Witchcraft Act, which stops treating witchcraft as a crime. Now it's just seen as fraud. Still, the scars remain. Historians estimate that between 1450 and 1750, about 50,000 people were executed for witchcraft in Europe, and 80% of them were women, often widows, healers, or anyone who didn't fit in. Entire villages are torn apart by suspicion, and thousands of innocent lives are lost to fear and superstition. A legacy of the witch hunts lives on in our culture. We still tell stories about witches, dress up as them for Halloween, and laugh about flying broomsticks. But behind the costumes and candy, there's a darker truth. The witch hunts were a time when fear overpowered reason, and the innocent paid the price. It's a reminder to question what we're told, even when everyone else believes it. And so, the witch hunts of medieval Europe fade into history, leaving behind a legacy of fear, loss, and lessons. If you're still awake, I hope you've learned a bit about this spooky time. If you're drifting off, let the crackling fires carry you to dreamland. Thanks for joining me on this 40-minute journey. Like, subscribe, and comment with your thoughts or what historical tale you'd like to hear next. Until then, sleep well, and may your dreams be free of witch hunters.